Hi there. Welcome to Offshoring Business Trends with Case Studies. This is the first webinar of a 3-webinar series. My name is Mike O'Hagan. I'm the founder and owner of Mini Movers in Australia, a business I still own today, which does short distance furniture moving across Australia. I'm also semi-retired today, living in Manila, the Philippines, where I teach Australian businesses or Western business owners how to offshore and also have a good look at your business models and help you grow business. I am a serial entrepreneur. I currently own 6 businesses in 4 different countries. To really get an idea of offshoring and where it's going and some case studies, we first of all have to talk a little bit about the Philippines and why so many people today are using the Philippines. Same time zone as Western Australia, population of 100 million people, a medium age of 23.3 years and falling. That means they're breeding faster and faster. 2/3 of the 100 million people are less than 15 years of age. 90% Christian, many of them very, very devout Christians. So it is a very unusual country in Asia. It is a fully Christian country. That means it has the same core values as us. Has a 97.5% literacy rate due to the fact that it was an American colony for nearly 80 years and the Americans put their education system here. They made it compulsory. They made it compulsory in English. That makes it the 3rd largest English-speaking country in the world. It has 500,000 college graduates a year. And currently the offshoring industry, which is absolutely exploding here, currently employs in the Philippines 1.2 million people, Filipinos working for Western businesses, of which 75% work for the USA. Which means that 75% of them start at 10 o'clock at night and finish at 5 o'clock in the morning. And of course, when Australians come along, we want them to start at 6 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time, and finish at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 o'clock Western time. And underpinning all this is a capital city gross wage of a university degree qualified worker doing an ordinary administration type role is around about $100 Australian per week. And in fact, as you go up through the skill levels into the a lot of the different skills, the wages don't raise very much at all. In Manila, you'll find them peaking out probably around about at $140 a week. This, of course, means that there's a massive, great opportunity here with the wage differences. And when you connect those wage differences with the internet, and then you add to it in recent years cloud-based solutions, the foundations are in place for a massive boom in the business offshoring services and people. In other words, building teams into the Philippines. And where we're seeing the real results today aren't the individual workers in the virtual-based solutions, home-based solutions. It's when we can get your own team in your own space and develop your own people. And that's what we're going to talk about in quite a few of the case studies we're going to follow through with today. Offshoring, of course, is changing rapidly and was started 25 years ago with the large corporate businesses. Because of the cloud-based solutions and the connectivity internet, now smaller micro businesses can also use it. And this is equalising small micro businesses with large corporates, and it's changing the business world dramatically. It also gives Australian businesses a footing in the world business stage and creating a new export income, feeding the lifestyles of every Australian. You know, most businesses in Australia have the opportunity to be able to source either product or sell product and or do both, and also control it all with administration and sales from third world countries. If you get into that mantra and you're developing everything at world's best value, then you're creating a lot of export dollars coming into Australia, which ultimately feeds our lifestyles. So let's get into it. Let's start talking about some actual case studies about what I'm seeing and what I'm involved in here in the Philippines with offshoring. The first one, of course, is fairly low-hanging fruit, but it's something that's dear to my heart. I've been in business for nearly 40 years now, and probably for the last 30 years I've had a PA, a personal assistant, attached directly to me, handling all of my personal and direct, easy to do tasks. For the last 14 or 15 years, that PA has been a Filipino, and indeed during that time I've gone through 3 different Filipinos in that role. So they've stayed with me, they're stable, and they're great to work with. sort of things they typically do for me. I do have them in Upwork. The last 14 years I've had a full-time designated PA working for me on Odesk, and later on of course it became Upwork. I like to do that because I like to keep them away from the politics of the various businesses that I have, keep them away. They are a personal assistant, they're not a virtual assistant. They're always doing research for me. I'm always needing to find out things. I'm always giving them tasks to go off and go and find out about this, go and research this, go and find that for me. And there's a lot of that going on. They organise appointments. It's a little bit like herding the cats sometimes, but they organise all my appointments and set my times for me. They run a lot of set small processes for me, particularly as I'm growing new businesses. Mike's Manila Tours is run by my current PA, Emma. She does everything. I just turn up and run the tour, but she does the bookings, organise the dates, organise the hotels, and that's all done with little set processes that we've developed around that particular business. They control my contacts. They keep them clean. They keep them all sorted out and clean and tidy. They learn who is who. They detect new ones when they're coming in, update them and everything else. And always also looking at my LinkedIn and then controlling and sorting that out and meshing those with my contacts to make sure I'm always up to date with who's who and is who and what's going on. They very much quickly learn who is who and who is urgent to me and who's not urgent to me, and the different priorities of people coming at me, and learn to handle that quite seamlessly. They read all my emails. We've always done that. We use Microsoft Exchange and Outlook, and we can see each emails. We can see the folders and everything else. And my PAs have always read my sent emails, and that's the way they keep on top of what's going on. Saves me a lot of time in telling them about what I'm up to. They can see what's happening with my sent emails. Obviously, they clear my inbox. They take care of the simple stuff. If somebody asks for a simple appointment with me, they'll just jump in and announce themselves. They don't act as me. They always say who they are on my behalf, but they sort anything out and take care of it. So my actual emails that I see each day is dramatically reduced down to all those that I need to see. They use my credit cards. They use PayPal. They book things, flights and hotels, and buy anything we need. That's all normal stuff. I get a lot of people asking about that, and I've got to tell you, look, it's all very, very trackable, and it's a very trust arrangement, as it is with most employees, and I've never, ever had anything that vaguely resembles any trouble with that. They do need to use your credit cards pretty clever, though, because a lot of the online stuff, they need to be able to answer the questions, or otherwise we get locked out, and we've discovered that a few times, but we get pretty good at that. Look, they set up and run my blogs and my webinars, and in fact this webinar's been completely set up by Emma. I've done the slides, she's given them an overview and checked them a little bit, but all I'm doing is turning up here, running their webinar. She's clicked record, she'll click finish at the end, and then send it off and get it all set up and put down and upload it so you guys all listen to it, and invite everybody to listen to it as well. At the end of the day, a personal assistant saves me an awful lot of time, and it's very, very cost effective for me. It makes my life easier, a lot easier, and it also means I'm a lot more productive as well. So I suggest that as soon as you get going in your business, the earlier you can get somebody in beside you as a PA to take care of all the running stuff, the better off it is. It's not a menial task. They have almost the same status in my business as a senior manager. They are making decisions, and quite large decisions, and so it's not a menial task. I do develop trust with them. They do learn to go off and do things without any supervision. That's all part of what you need to have a good PA working for you. So that's how I use PA, and I'm using Upwork to source my PA, and also to employ my PA to make it all simple for myself. The next story is a story that started just after I got serious up here. I got very, very serious about using the Philippines 6 or 7 years ago, and around about or just after I started here, one of the largest carpet cleaning companies in Australia decided to move the majority of its operation up here, and in a pretty short time they pretty well moved everything up here except for franchisees. So all they have in Australia is pretty well franchisees cleaning carpets, and they are across most country towns as well as every city in Australia. They're a very large operation. They've trained their Filipino team, and it is a team. It's all in one office, everybody there together. Their call centres there, their sales sections there, their marketing's there, their back office administration's there. lead generation, bookkeeping, wages, and all the compliance stuff they do. It's all in there. And from finding and engaging franchisees to finding and booking clients is all of the administration tasks that are with them are all done in the Philippines. I understand that operation puts a good $2 to $3 million extra on their bottom line. It also means that they can do an awful lot more for their clients than their competitors can do, and gives them a distinct advantage in the market. So they've got the advantage of good profit, and they've also got the advantage of being able to do a lot more for their clients than what their competitors can. And I think it's a general trend that you're going to see in the service sector everywhere, this type of operation growing and exploding across Australia. Very interesting. Like a lot of operations, not all the jobs in there are jobs from Australia, far from it. After they get up here and discover how the low wages work and how clever the Filipinos can be, they very quickly decide they can invent new things, particularly often in marketing, in lead generation, in those areas, and in doing more things for their customers. We've got a little outbound section that does outbound phone calls, which we'd never dream of doing in Australia. We could never afford it to do it. Up here you can afford to do those things easy. So very quickly you invent new jobs that add more value to your clients and more value to your business as well. And that's quite a common thing that you're seeing here in a lot of the business I see. The next one is it's an example of what we call the fourth wave, which is the second wave was manufacturing leaving Australia. The third wave is employment effectively moving across, and the fourth wave we believe is going to be the professional services, or a lot of services, setting up their full structures in these third world countries, and then retailing their operations back into the Western world. And this particular one is an accountancy firm, and when we visited on tour, they've got a very, very large room with about a very large room full of Australianised accountants. They have another room with USA accountants, and they have another room with UK accountants. I've watched this company grow from 5 accountants to 130 accountants in just under 3 years. It's been a spectacular success. They retail accountancy services to businesses, small, medium, and also large businesses in each of these countries, in the same way that an ordinary standard accountancy business in Australia retails directly to you. Except where an Australian accountancy firm is basing its charges on about $300 an hour, this company is basing its charges on $20 an hour. And they are very, very good at what they do. They are learning very rapidly. They're doing everything that an accountancy firm can do, except for tax advice. And what I'm commonly seeing happen is that Australian businesses come up here, they start using these type of services. They still keep their existing accountant in Australia, but they downrank all the work. The BAS goes out, the standard P&Ls and compliance statements come out, and all go to the Philippines. And pretty well the only thing that's left for the Australian accountant is the tax advice at the end of the year. 1 or 2 meetings a year every time they restructure something, and that's it. The rest of it's all the arms and legs stuff is all done by these accountancy firms up here. So you still keep your Australian accountant, but just using them for pure tax advice only, and some other advices if you need it. But all the arms and legs stuff is all done here, and it is accountancy. It's well beyond bookkeeping as well. This next business is a rent roll business. It operates one of the largest rent rolls in Australia. If you lease properties, houses and all those sort of things, these guys run all those processes for you. So as you can see, that first lady in the slide, she does the rent arrears chasing, lease renewal processing and chasing, sending signed leases to owners and tenants, smoke alarm processing, issuing notices to leave, vacation packs, postings, breaking lease processing, repairs and maintenance. The middle one, of course, is doing QA and health checks, bond payment checking and some data mining or some data trawling or research that they need for their business as well, using RP data. The last person there is booking the inspections, putting up and removing the signs, doing entry notice for lease inspections, routine inspection booking, business development and administration tasks. And indeed, there's a this company has quite a large team. running at about 35 people, and they all have all the different roles running all the different processes. So all those processes with technology are very, very easy to move to a place like the Philippines. And you come up here, you train them to do it your way, and with the loyalty factor you get here and the fact that they really have a desire to do a job, and with their wages I've talked about earlier, you can develop a massively effective team to do these things. This business is rather interesting. This business has also been around here for quite a while, about 5 years that I am aware of. It's an American business. I've used Google Maps there to do the shot, but they use more higher resolution than Google Maps. In Australia, we have a thing called Near Maps, who take high resolution photos. And in the States, there's a similar thing as well. And what they're doing is they're working their way up every street in the USA, and they are measuring every roof. They're putting little red dots, like little laser points with a computer on the points of the roof, and that does an automatic measurement of the roof. They record the address, they record the size of the roof, they record the type of roof and the condition of the roof. Then they move on to the next one and do that, then they move on to the next one and do that. They have 900 Filipinos sitting in an office space, and that's all they do all day, every day, 5 days a week, measuring roofs. And really, this is all about lead gen and data collection, data mining. You hear people talk about data mining. You think of the idea that they're in websites trying to get email addresses. Well, those days are far, far gone. Nowadays, we're using a lot of different ways that we can mine data, and certainly mining data from aerial shots is the game. Now, this company has it down to an art, and they just sell that data. They sell it to insurance companies. They sell it to all sorts of different people, and I don't doubt the roofing industry would also be interested in paying for that data as well. And that's all they do, all day, every day, collecting data like that. You couldn't do it anywhere else. It would be impossible to do it anywhere else, and then sell that to all those that need it. This one is interesting. It's a friend of mine. I've actually changed the product by his request. So it's a very similar product to as I presented here. But can you imagine if you were selling swimming pools? Well, your target is, of course, somebody who hasn't got a swimming pool. So if you have a look at this aerial shot here, it's an aerial shot actually in the Gold Coast in Australia, in Brisbane, Gold Coast in bottom of Queensland. And as you can see, number 11's got a swimming pool, number 8's got a swimming pool, number 10's got a swimming pool, number 12's got a swimming pool, and number 15 here's got a swimming pool, number 13 here, it's got a lovely big backyard and no swimming pool. And so what they do is they click print screen, which snaps a shot of it. They then drop that photo as such into a flyer situation, draw a circle around number 13, put on it, is this your house? How about a pool or spa in your backyard? Go online to this address, web address, or phone us at this phone number and let us explain how we can easily install your pool or spa. They then click print, and it prints it on like a card, and it prints the address on one side and it prints this image on the back of it. And down on the Gold Coast there's a guy in an office, and he's got a printer in there, and every few minutes one of these things drops out, because in the Philippines they have two people, Filipinos, all they're doing all day, every day is working their way down the streets, finding the potential places that will sell swimming pools, putting a circle around it, going click print, and the printed flyer, if you want to use that term, the printed postcard comes out in a printer in the Gold Coast. Every day they collect them all, take them down to Australia Post, drop them in the postal service, and they arrive in your mail. And of course the secret to it is that if you get something in your mail and it's actually got a picture of your house on it, you're actually going to stop and look at it. And in fact, you're probably going to show your partner, look what came in the mail. And indeed, they really hit some major home runs with this. In the industry they're in, which is similar to swimming pools, they are a very major player. Their competitors all know about them but have no idea what they're doing, because they don't actually have any public advertising. You don't see them at all. They don't push their name out there. They don't need to. Their market's very, very niche, very direct to the target. And if you have a large backyard, you'll certainly get something from them suggesting that you buy their product. A very clever way to do marketing. Once again, something you couldn't dream of doing in the Western world with our costs that we've got there at the moment. This is a BPO that up until a few weeks ago, was owned by the New Zealand Post. They still use the services in it. It's now owned by another operator. But while New Zealand Post owned it for a number of years, doing a lot of work, they were also doing work for New Zealand postal workers as well. In Auckland, New Zealand, they put in a mail service, and in that mail service, they have the parcels all arrive in. It's automatic, big automated mail service with conveyor belts. All the parcels roll in, and a conveyor belt picks them up. And as they roll along the conveyor belt, they go through a scan of cameras, and there's a barcode on the parcel, and the camera detects the software detects the address label, and reads the address label, and then tells the computer that barcode equals that address label from now on. So when it gets down and it gets to a little arm that says North Island, South Island, it knows which way to swing the arm, and when it gets down and goes Christchurch and Dunedin, it knows which way to swing the arm to switch the parcel. On about 30% of them, for various reasons, they can't read them properly. Sometimes it's because, and this is how clever it is, there's not that many numbers in the street, or the street's misspelt to the suburb, or the suburb's misspelt to the street, or something similar, or it's just ripped or screwed up, or in some way it cannot be read. An image of that instantly appears on a screen in the Philippines, and a Filipino who knows pretty well the spelling of everything in in New Zealand, fixes the problem. And he just comes up on his screen and goes tick-click, it's gone. And he has 4 seconds in which to fix it, because that's 4 seconds is when the parcel gets to the first barcode, and if it to the first sorting arm. If it doesn't know when it gets that sorting arm, it's got to go right round the whole loop before it can do it all again. So they do it in 4 seconds, and it's an amazing thing to go in and sit down and watch this small team of Filipinos glued to the screen. The address comes up and go bang bang, and they change it, and it goes back to Australia in a nanosecond, corrects it, and parcels on the way. A very, very clever use of video footage and video transfer, and a very interesting example of how good the internet is here, and how you can get do some amazing stuff because of the great internet we have here. The next one is an American friend of mine. He's a radiologist. In general terms, a radiologist in the West costs about $120,000 a year. There's one of them reading an X-ray. They have because you have one human doing something, you will always have a mistake margin, and they do have a mistake margin with reading X-rays. In the Philippines, a radiologist is about $12,000 a year. So this guy can afford to have 3 radiologists read the one X-ray. He has the 3 of them read the X-ray. As the X-ray is taken in the States, it's actually dropping, the image of it is dropping down on a massive, great big screens that he has in a dark room full of radiologists in the Philippines. 3 of them read the same X-ray in different parts of the building. They all type in the report into a computer. The computer compares the 3 reports. If there's any discrepancies, it goes to a supervisor to be sorted out. If there's no discrepancies, it flips straight back. The report flips straight back to the USA, almost faster than somebody in the States could have read it anyway. But of course, with no mistakes, absolutely 0 mistakes. If you've got 3 people agreeing on something, the potential for a mistake is extremely minor indeed. So they're reading them for a third of the cost. They're reading them with 0 mistakes, and they're reading them faster. It's an absolute no-brainer. I think us entrepreneurs, when we look at this type of thing, we can see so many ways that we can eliminate mistakes and give faster results at cheaper prices using this type of thinking in your business. This B2B marketing process, I'm seeing a lot more now. I can tell you that my Mini Movers has a massive team in the Philippines that are detecting potential clients, doing a lot of research, marrying it up, using a whole lot of databases to find out more about those potential clients, making a decision when they think they're going to move. Even if they are rentals and going to move in the next few days, we can still react very, very quickly to that, or in a few months' time if it's a house being sold. We're profiling that, and then we're contacting them in a warm way, and indeed we're also closing the sales from here. and we're doing that in a big way. And I'm seeing it over and over again in so many different industries, where you can have an absolute target market, a B2B, business-to-business arrangement. You know who it is. You probably know what business it is. Once you go to that business, it's not hard to do research around that business to find out who the owner is or who the senior decision makers are. It's not hard for you to manually screw down and find out a lot more about them and find out their contact details. It's not difficult. Then have somebody here contact them. That can be by phone, it can be by email, it can be by messenger, it can be by LinkedIn, it can be by any number of different ways. And then obviously when they contact them, they extract some sort of reaction, and that turns it into a warm inquiry, then flip it over to a salesperson to close the sale. We're seeing this in all the service businesses. We're seeing this, have a business up here that, an Australian business that sells hospital equipment and are selling into the USA doing exactly this. They've got a couple of Filipino people working at night, ringing American hospitals, talking to the person in the particular section that they need to talk to, and then sending them some information online, and then following that up with a trial arrangement they have where they send the actual equipment to them to trial, and then closing it into a sale. And that Australian business is selling that product without anything in the USA at all. It's just doing it clean with most of its team from the Philippines, making it worthwhile. Same with software. I'm seeing people selling software to specific businesses. Same deal. Zero in on the business, do the research, make sure the business is right, find out who the decision makers are, and do that. And you can afford to do that here. You can afford to have a team doing those sort of things. And some of the numbers out of these things are huge. They really are in how they're doing it. This is a business that does work in the building industry. They do insurance repair work. Specifically, they do a lot of it for when there's been a major disaster. They have a massive, great problems getting assessors, trying to get assessors into the sites and trying to get the assessors to be efficient. Obviously, an assessor goes out to do an assessment for insurance purposes. He's got to measure everything up. He's then got to go and do a big list, go and work it all out, calculate it all out, type it into a big report, and then send it in as submit it. There's a lot of work in that. They spend a little bit of time on site and an awful lot of time doing paperwork. We've managed to eliminate that, and we also managed to eliminate the need for so-called qualified assessors. We just, common sense people could do it. I myself am a tradie electrician. I did my trade as an electrician when I was young, a young fella. I haven't practiced for years, but that's given me a common sense of how all the building stuff works, and I understand all that stuff easily. Imagine if I walked into a building that had, say, 3 feet of flood water through it. I'd be able to switch my iPad on. I'd be able to talk to the iPad and point the iPad at the damage and say, rightio, this is the claim for Mr. Smith in so-and-so street, claim number such and such on XYZ insurance. As you can see, there's been 900 millimetres of flood water in here. This is the rumpus room at the front, and there's a PowerPoint here, and there's something here. The carpet's got to be replaced, and I can just move the video, the iPad around the room, talking to it, describing what I need to see. When I'm finished walking through the whole site, I could then click send, and that video footage would then be sent and would arrive in the Philippines. Obviously, you'd use some sort of third party in the middle, Dropbox or whatever, to handle that process. Where in the Philippines, an engineer can get hold of it, go through the footage, and then off the video they can do the fundamental measuring, do the measurements, work out a list of everything that's got to be done, and indeed cost out the job with a big inventory list of everything that's got to be done. And then, of course, send that back as an insurance claim, and they can turn that round faster. And of course, the on-site insurance assessor to send a video, as soon as he's finished one, he's simply out up the road into the next one, and he's doing that. He's not sitting in an office processing them all. That's all being done in the Philippines. They are playing with doing it in tandem for accuracy, much the same as the X-ray guy. And they're also recently been playing with getting Filipino to control the actual job when they get the job, because obviously off that video they can work out what needs to be ordered in what order. Strip it back to the frame, get an electrician in to do a pre-wire, get the gyprocky to do the gyprocking, right through to painting and putting the carpet down, can all be controlled in the right order, believe it or not, from the Philippines. And that's being done by this company as we speak, and it's highly successful for them, something that we started doing about 3 years ago, and they're ramping it up and having a lot of fun doing it now. Quite often with the people that come on, I actually have a business learning tour, which I'm going to talk about shortly, and I get a lot of people coming up that are experts in their actual industry, like accounting or had an RTO that's an expert in training and all sorts of things. And what I tell them is quite simple. If you're going to stop, what's missing in the Philippines is expertise in all these particular areas. There's lots of accountants here. There's a massive oversupply of qualified accountants in the Philippines, but they don't know fully Australian accounting. They've been taught theoretical accounting at university, and they don't know the intricacies of Australian accounting. And the accountant came up and he said to me, where's the gap in the market? And I said, well, quite simple. There's a massive shortage of Australianised accountants. This is an American education system. They have to do prac to get their degrees. Accountants have to do 6 months, what we call OJT, on-job training, to get their degree. So you can actually have them working, as long as they're training, for 6 months for nothing. And I said, what you should do is simply go and find somebody who's gone broke with, say, 20 computers or whatever. Go and grab 20 OJTs from a university, sit them down and fully Australianise them. Train them to spell BAS forwards, backwards, upside down, to spell superannuation forwards, backwards, upside down. Obviously, being very Americanised, they understand what a 401 is, but have no idea what superannuation is. He did that. Accountants up here have a starting salary after training of $84 a week. He hired 25. He focused on Australianising them. In 10 weeks, he trained them up to be incredibly good at what they do. He kept the best for his own business, and then he sold the rest to his industry. And this guy has taken off. He now has over 300 accountants working for him in 3 years. And the growth is not going to slow down. He's going to go to thousands. Nothing's going to stop him, because he's feeding a demand with a product that's really good. And there's a lot of demand coming up here and can't get that last level of expertise, and that's the way to do it. So if you're coming up here and you want to set up your own team and you're going to train somebody in a particular part of your industry niche to do it your way, well, you might as well hire them on and sell them to your competitors and start a new business and grow it as well. It's the way the entrepreneurs are getting ahead of the J-curve of what's coming at them in the way of change. And so that's a really good story, and one I'm seeing successful, and I'm seeing it done not only in accounting, I'm seeing it done in law right now. As I said, I'm seeing it done by an RTO and training. I'm seeing it done in so many really little niche areas, so many little degrees of engineering, and all sorts of things where I'm seeing this training specifically for the industry, and then of course the industry will readily buy it because it's very much trained to do the right thing. This is a company, it's been around for a long time. Second generation company, used to be based in Brisbane. In Brisbane, what they do is they do left to right hand, or right hand to left hand car conversions. Basically, some very large American trucks and specialised American cars like Camaros and stuff like that. There's a market in Australia for these products. They're not brought out with a steering wheel on our side. They have to be changed over manually. There's a market out there to buy them. The model that they usually have is they have selling agents right across Australia. Obviously, typically they are car yards, large car dealerships. If you go into the Ford dealership in Timbuktu, for instance, and ask for a big F450, he'll say, I don't have one. But if you want one, we can order it through a third party that does the conversion, and we can deliver it to you. And you place the order, they get the car out from the USA. They move everything across. There's quite a bit of work involved in it. Steering wheel, the gear stick's got to be changed, the doors have got to be changed, the middle's got to be changed, and of course the complete dash has got to be changed, apart from what's done underneath the hood as far as the steering box and a whole lot of other things are concerned. They used to have 10 mechanics. They always had a shortage and always had trouble with them. They were charging $45,000 a conversion with no profit. They packed everything up, moved it up here to a special economic zone. Here, mechanics are about $53 a week, and there's a massive oversupply of them. Today, they have 100 mechanics. They charge $17,000 for a conversion, so they've dropped their price from $45,000 to $17,000, which means they're capturing most of their market, and they have a good profit with it. And the big bonus is after they got operating here in the Philippines, they discovered that the this is more worldly as far as the sea lanes are concerned. They can ship things a lot cheaper from here than you can from Australia. They very quickly discovered that Thailand, Singapore and Hong Kong all drive on the wrong side of the road like we do. And so they started selling into those, and just recently they've cracked the UK, and they're now selling into the UK. If you're in England and you want a Ford Camaro, you go to your dealer in England, and he refers it to this Australian company, which is based now, got its operation in the Philippines. The conversion's done and shipped to you in England just like that. The world has become small, and the world has become easy to deal with. And that's a good story. That company actually probably wouldn't exist today if it continued operating where it was. It was running at a loss, it was going backwards, and it would have ceased to exist, but now it's thriving and growing because it's managed to move its shift, but its cost base and its productivity levels to another country, mainly the Philippines. Typically, this is what you see with a lot of businesses, particularly like our carpet cleaner and all those sort of businesses. You're seeing specialised people being hired in a team situation. Guys like the web and database developer down in the left-hand corner there, the marketing coordinator above him, telemarketing and appointment setting person, a data miner or a researcher setting things up, bookkeeper and accounts receivable, salesperson, assistant, your personal assistant, of course, helping you, and a team leader who's also the social media whiz. A typical of the teams, and then a team of whatever it is you specialising in, whether it be drafting and engineering, law, accounting, it doesn't matter what it is, in sales, telesales, it doesn't matter. All those teams are here and growing rapidly. As I said, currently 1.2 million Filipinos employed in this industry. The growth rate overall is just over 20%. The growth rate in the Australian sector is currently running between 30 and 40% a year. It's absolutely massive. I've lived here full time for 3 years. I've been seriously operating here for 6 years, and I've had Filipinos working for me for 14 years. So I've been doing it for a while, and I've really learned how to do it. So this webinar is part 1 of a 3-part series. In my next webinar, I'm going to discuss the cultural differences and management techniques that help maximise the productivity of your Filipino team. And in the final of the series, the final webinar, I'm going to discuss the 7 different ways you can engage services or people. And between the 3 webinars, you should get a good overview of how you can do it and go about this great thing. So many fail to maximise this opportunity because they don't really know that they don't know. My intention is to address that. I also conduct a 3-day intensive business learning tours. First of all, I take you on an amazing offshoring and entrepreneurial journey. You're going to see all the different ways that you can engage people or services with all the do's and don'ts. And there's lots of don'ts and there's lots of wonderful do's that you're not aware of, trust me. You will also see simple, cost-effective ways you can develop your business or new businesses. I really push you to the limit with your business model. I will challenge you. I will really help you get your business model into a high growth model. I am a serial entrepreneur. I am a bootstrapper, which means I'm opposed to borrowing money or taking risks. I believe in funding from within. I will find a way that you can bootstrap your business model, and the ultimate goal for all business owners is very simple: earn an awful lot of money every week and not have to work. And that's the ultimate goal for me, and it's also the ultimate goal I instill into everybody that comes near me. That's what you need to do. You need to work out how you can get others to do everything for you, and also how to make a lot of money out of that in the way of profit. And I really will focus on that, and will challenge your business model around that as well. You're learning from real entrepreneurs who are doing it. We will challenge and help you develop your model. As I said, learn before you do, and learn from my mistakes and my successes. I'm very open and sharing about all the things I did wrong. We introduce you to a whole lot of other people, and they'll tell you all the things they did wrong, and they'll also tell you the things that they did right. And you can only learn from those that are really doing it, which is why the tour has been so successful. To date, we've had about 340 people come on tour. I run them last year I was trying to run them every 2 to 3 weeks. This year it's supposed to be every 3 to 4 weeks, although just recently I've had 3 in a row just to clear a backlog again, but there's such a demand for it. But when we release a date, I do suggest you grab it. Tour norms: most of you will convert some or part of your existing back office roles up here, that is jobs coming out. There's not too many of them come out though, because very quickly you learn to add new processes like marketing and employment and various things you would never do at home, and to increase the value of your business and increase your profit as well. And they're all new jobs that are created because the opportunity is here. Several of you will also engage specialised services, like the accounting service that I talked about earlier on, and a few of you will indeed start new businesses. My tours are ideal from everybody from pre-startups to practicing micro, small, medium businesses. Public listed companies are quite common on my tour as well, and it's quite common for them to go back and then senior managers up and get them involved as well. The focus now in the industry and the trend in the industry is on higher quality workers, thinkers. It's away from the robotic processes of the past. We're now wanting people that can think, and indeed we're learning ways to develop that, and they're the things that we teach on tour. If you want to, I have a book on this subject called The Efficient $100 a Week Worker. If you email me, and my email address is up on the screen, it's very simple. It's Mike@O'Hagan, OHAGAN.com.au. So I own my family name, Mike@O'Hagan.com.au, and I will send you a copy of my book, The Efficient $100 a Week Worker. It's in a PDF format. It's a pretty easy read. You can probably read it in about half an hour to an hour, and it gives you a good overlay. It's the way these webinars as well. But of course, naturally, nothing beats coming up on my tour and learning to do that. So on that basis, I thank everybody. I hope that you'll come and listen to my next webinar, where we'll discuss how the Philippines and managing Filipinos and the keys to productivity, how you actually set it up, what's really available in the Philippines, and how you manage them, and the keys to productivity around them. So until the next webinar, I bid you thank you. Thank you very much.